This is James. Welcome to the 8th installment of the Metal Gear Solid 3 FOXHOUND Rank video walkthrough. We'll start by plotting 4 different routes into Volgin's stronghold, Groznyj Grad. Once inside, we'll kidnap Major Raikov and steal his uniform, fulfilling one of the Metal Gear Saga's time-tested tropes of infiltrating an enemy compound in disguise. Once safely disguised as Raikov, we'll lay the demolition groundwork for our future forays out of and back into Groznyj Grad before resuming our mission to meet back up with Sokolov under much more dangerous conditions than before. We'll run through several different methods of Snake's naked escape from Groznyj Grad's torture facility, followed by a waist-deep slog through the Sorrows River of the Dead. The Sorrows River will indicate if we have truly made a no-kill playthrough in order to earn the FOXHOUND rank. Taken as a whole, this sequence demands full utilization of the player skills and observations of the game's mechanics that we've explored so far. The challenges are steep, the sense of gratification great. So let's get started. First things first, you've earned the fire camouflage from non-lethally taking down the Fury, so be sure to grab it just to the left of Snake's starting position. The items positioned in a zigzag pattern on the catwalk are important. One is a magazine of Mark 22 knockout rounds, and the other is a suppressor for the Mark 22. Take time to reattach your suppressors, and then switch back to Tiger Stripe camo. It hasn't let us down so far, and it continues to be a fountainhead for a variety of infiltration methods. Looking sharp. Once you've finished preparations, climb that ladder to infiltrate Groznyj Grad. Think of Naked Snake's infiltration into Groznyj Grad as a souped-up version of Solid Snake's infiltration into Shadow Moses Island's tank hangar. You've got more spotlights and more enemy types, but, most importantly, Groznyj Grad has many redundant soldiers watching each other's backs, much like the soldiers positioned in the first several areas of the mountaintop level. Let's start by checking out the very first guards that Snake will encounter to the north. The one to the right of this shot will slowly amble down this corridor of industrial crates, while a second guard on the left will patrol horizontally. We're going to draw upon all of our knowledge of guard AI behavior to make it through this. If Snake peeks from around a corner, his camo index will drop to 0%. This will grab the first guard's attention. When that guard comes to investigate, wait for him to pass the crate just north of the crate that Snake peeked from behind. Once he is in that opening, you can run up and catch him with CQC. I don't recommend hopping up here during a regular playthrough, but I'm doing it now in order to illustrate how the second guard reacts once he sees his comrade out cold. This isn't the fastest way through, but if you're having trouble here, it is one of the safest. Remember, when a soldier investigates another soldier's body, his cone of vision shrinks, and he ignores all sound around him. This is your perfect opportunity to swing wide around the northmost crate and catch him with CQC. Now you've opened up this gridded space for your next step. We're pausing here to get a good look at the state of this area after knocking out both guards, but obviously we aren't going to hang around once that work is done during an actual playthrough. A third guard patrols north and south behind a small hangar, and he is our next target. If you've gone through the trouble to wait for the second guard to notice the first, then our third man here will have his back turned to Snake once we resume moving forward. Take him out. Then move on to the red door leading north, which contains the main entrance to Groznyj Grad's research center. Once you've entered this new area, stand perfectly still. The Tiger Stripe camo is low enough to attract one of the redundant guards away from his post. As you see here through the binoculars, the guard's path to Snake's location takes him around these explosive drums. You can press Snake against this nearby wall in order to take out the guard once he's in range. A quick check to the right shows that no guards are patrolling this specific segment, so Snake is safe while he waits. I encourage a more proactive strategy that relies upon a counterintuitive mechanical element of the game. Even though both Snake and the guards stand taller than the oil drums have an invisible vertical wall that prevents enemies from noticing Snake's head, even when they're looking directly at it from the other side. Use this to your advantage. Use the drums as a trap to catch the guard as he rounds the corner, and use your binoculars to safely observe one of the next guard's patrol patterns. I'm lingering deliberately on this guard to illustrate one of the less common patrol patterns among the GRU in Metal Gear Solid 3. Instead of walking up and down a set path, he turns in place, sometimes showing Snake his back, other times standing to face Snake's direction. What we don't see in this shot are the two guards watching his position. We would get caught even if we approached him from his blind spot. That is exactly the peril of redundant guard placement. To combat this, we need to discreetly pull each guard away from his post, just like we did with the first guard from behind the drums. After knocking the first guard out, run east along the southern border of this building. A guard patrols north and south along the edge, and you can take him out with CQC. A third soldier will notice Snake due to the low camo index. Before you retreat, pull out your suppressed Mark 22, auto-aim on the third approaching guard, and fire a tranquilizer dart. Because he is investigating a scene, he will not notice the shot and go into caution. Ideally, the knockout round will take effect before he reaches the second soldier whom you took down with CQC. These were the two guards watching the position of the fellow whom we scouted with the binoculars across the oil drums. We have just created our opportunity. Obviously, we've watched these events unfold for illustration purposes. Once we hit that third guard with the Mark 22 round, we need to trust that it will take effect and hurry to our fourth and final quarry, the guard whom we scouted across the oil drums. We're going to scout him one more time. As you can see, he's actually looking away from Snake at the exact moment that we arrive. He'll look in Snake's direction, then look away once more before changing positions. Let's put together the strategy that we've been assembling piece by piece. We've already taken care of the first guard by the drums, we just CQC'd the second guard, and we've stuck the third guard with a knockout round. As this guard turns around, Snake needs to roll forward over the traffic barrier and make a wide arc to catch the fourth and final guard from his blind side. Now this is important. Wait for the fourth guard to finish turning so his posture faces Snake's direction, and then roll. For 1/4 of a second after turning, he's looking in your direction, so pause if you're unsure if he's started looking away. Now, this is the point where this infiltration strategy diverges depending upon circumstances mostly out of your control. Sometimes the fourth guard will see the third guard collapse and he'll go to investigate. This is easy enough. Just hit him with CQC. Once these 4 guards are down, use the barrels as scouting shields and watch for a 5th guard to turn around. Now the entrance is all yours. In another variation of this strategy, the Mark 22 round that you shot into the third guard will work slower than you'd like. The guard will have made it to the second guard that you knocked out using CQC, and the hole that you've punched in their defenses has started to close. Use your ears. If you don't hear that third guard fall down, run quickly to where you CQC'd the second guard, and roll forward into both of them. This will automatically put the tranquilized guard to sleep, but you'll need to run over and hold up the second guard. Once he's held up, hit him with CQC, make sure that the 5th guard has turned away, and then enter the building. Now let's put the pieces of this strategy together into a no-alert run. First, grab the northern guard's attention by peeking. CQC him after he's passed the container immediately north of where you peeked. For a faster run, you can hit the second guard as he turns down this corridor, but this will disrupt the timing on the area's third guard. Approach him silently by sidling along the wall, then hit him once he's looking away. Now take the northern red door into the next area. Wait for the first guard to see Snake. Then run to the barrels. CQC the first guard after he passes Snake. Quickly run around the building on its south end. CQC the second guard, equip your Mark 22, and hit the third guard with a tranquilizer round. Run back around the south side of this building and be certain that the fourth guard is looking away before rolling over the traffic barrier to knock him out. The tranquilizer has been slow this time, so run to where you CQC'd the second guard and roll into them both. Hold up the guard left standing and then hit him with CQC. Make sure that the fifth guard has his back turned toward the building's entrance. And dash inside before he turns around. Our second method takes us west through an entirely different set of soldiers. First, we need to deal with these two patrolling next to each other. Then we'll need to draw out a third soldier from his position in front of a hangar. Now take a look at this. Even though the soldiers have parallel patrol routes, they do not walk shoulder to shoulder. This means we'll have to hit the guy on the left first. In most cases, when taking down a guard from behind, you can rely upon that half second between white and red exclamation points to make your winning move. This, however, requires a finer touch. You need to stalk the guards individually and immobilize them silently. To this end, I advise holding each of them up in turn. You'll want to hit the D-pad to begin stalking near around where the ground texture changes here. Hold the square button and toggle your sidearm on and off with the R2 button until Snake is close enough to tell the guard to freeze. Snake will only hold up a guard when he raises or equips his gun at a guard in range. You can't just approach a guard with your gun held out. Our next step is to lure this third guard away from his post. A bit more on the hold-up strategy. We're doing this because hold-ups are silent. The other guard will not hear you incapacitate his partner. Once they're held up, CQC them before they get too comfortable and call an alert. Next, run in circles beside the armored vehicle to get the third guard's attention. We're fast-forwarding here a bit to economize on time, but this will lure him to where he'll see his knocked-out comrades. Wait for him to see the two you took down, then catch him as he investigates. A fourth guard patrols between these small hangars. He's very easy to avoid, but we need to remember that he is there so we don't make any careless mistakes. Once you've taken down the third guard, run west along the southern border. You're far enough away from the fourth guard that even if he does see you, he'll merely investigate rather than cause real trouble. Run around the corner of this southernmost hangar and head north. The last guard to note in this area actually patrols beyond Snake's physical reach. If you've timed everything well, he should have his back to Snake when you arrive at this spot. So let's put everything together into a single escape from the first area of Groznyj Grad. Run to the parallel patrols and begin stalking with the D-pad around where the texture on the ground changes. Hold down square and toggle Snake's handgun with the R2 button to hold up the left guard first and then the right. Once they're held up, take them out with CQC. Then run in circles next to the armored vehicle to get the third guard's attention. When he arrives, knock him out, and run west along the southernmost border of this stage. Round the corner of this hangar and head north. If you didn't catch the 4th guard's attention, he'll still have his back to Snake as you run through. Finally, with the 5th guard's back turned as well, exit through the red door into the next area. We only have one guard in this area, and he is, in fact, the same guard whose back was turned as we went through the red door. Now, however, he's positioned behind these crates. This is one way to deal with him. Keep knocking and making noise until he runs to your location. Then catch him as you run around the crates yourself. Use this strategy if you're uncomfortable capitalizing on the gap between the white and red exclamation points. Otherwise, I recommend positioning Snake behind the crates and watching them using the subsistence controllable camera. Run straight up and take him down. Our next step is to enter the area to Snake's east, so run through that second red door. As before, the front entrance to Groznyj Grad has a ton of redundant patrols. Understanding our second approach can be made more intelligible if we use the guard locations from our previous approach as a frame of reference. The guard on the right in this shot was the very first patrol that we drew away from his post with Snake's low camo index. The guard on the left was the 4th and final guard that we took out after running back west along the southern edge of this area's largest building. Coming around the armored vehicle, we see the guard whom we previously shot with the Mark 22 before fleeing to run west along the building's southern face. As an aside, we now have the spotlight to contend with as we approach the building. Finally, emerging from the largest building's east alley, we see the 4th guard whom we took down with CQC. For this second approach, we're going to use the cardboard box. In order to make the cardboard box work for us, we need to understand exactly how much time we have once an enemy has approached our corrugated shuttle. First he'll observe, then he'll kick so the handle that serves as Snake's point of view is facing the guard directly. Next he'll take a good long peek inside. You can interrupt the sequence at any time by unequipping the box. If you do, you'll get a white exclamation point, giving you time to knock out the guard with CQC. However, you must do this before he removes the box, exposing Snake. Now let's plot our first strategy. If you run to this mesh metal fence first and then to its corner, you'll catch the first guard on the right's attention. He'll approach at the slowest pace. We're fast forwarding here, but once he arrives at the box, unequip it and hit him with CQC. If you stop completely as the spotlight passes over you, you won't trigger an alert, and you can move onward to the second guard. With that foundation laid, let's tweak one variable to show how this can become a somewhat different strategy. Rather than running to the fence and then to the corner, run to the corner across the open ground. This will catch the attention of the guard on the left instead. Again, we're fast forwarding, but this is an excellent occasion to show how to use the guard's long overview of the box to our advantage. Notice that when the left guard arrives, the guard on the right is looking in our direction. Not a good time to pop out for CQC. We have all the time we need for the right guard to look away, to pop out, CQC the guard nearby, and then re-equip the box. These are our two possible opening moves. Now let's catch the right guard's attention and follow through. If the guard doesn't take notice of the box right away, bump the left analog stick to move the box just a little and catch the guard's attention. He'll head our way and we can CQC him once he's nearby. Next we're heading to the guard on the left. We keep the box equipped to evade the spotlight, and then CQC this guy from behind. The guard who patrols the alley to the east of this area's largest building will notice the activity and approach. Keep the box on until he's within range, and take him down too. The guard by the armored car has his back to Snake, so we can catch him from behind. Now the entrance is open. Normally you would run straight inside, but let's take a look at one more detail. It's worth noting that the 5th guard continues to look away from the main entrance, but not indefinitely, so take to the door right away. Now let's try a strategy using our second opening move. Run across the open area to catch the left guard's attention. Once he gets close, use his long overlook time frame to wait for the right guard to look away, then hit him with CQC. The right guard will notice his fallen comrade and investigate, so take him out when he gets close too. This approach involves the longest wait times for the guards to get to their destinations, so the remaining guards will be farther along in their patrol patterns. Use the traditional camera to spot their positions as you run east. The next goal is to catch the alleyway guard's attention and CQC him when he gets close. You can take down the remaining guard as he's looking the other way. This time, notice that the 5th guard is looking in Snake's direction. Use the armored car as cover until he turns away. Now let's assemble all this into a winning strategy. First, run to the parallel guards. Stalk with the D-pad right before where the ground changes textures. Hold square and toggle Snake's sidearm by tapping R2 until you hold up the left guard, and then the right. CQC them immediately. Run next to the armored vehicle to get the 3rd guard's attention, and take him out as soon as he sees his knocked out comrades. Run west along the southernmost border of this area, then turn north around this southwestern hangar. Continue running north non-stop, and exit through the red door on your left. In the second area, run to where you can use either first-person view or the subsistence controllable camera to watch the guard patrol into the open. Run up, knock him out, and then run through the second western door. Now comes the real challenge. I've equipped my cardboard box and have run across this open space to draw the left guard's attention. As before, we are fast-forwarding guard movements toward the box. Once he's walked over, wait for the right guard to look away and then take out the guard nearby. Use him as bait for the second guard. Equip the box, making sure to stop for the spotlight, and get the attention of the guard who was patrolling the eastern alley. No one will see you take him out when he's nearby. We take out guard 4 as he's looking away. Almost done. We use the armored car as cover from guard number 5. And we close out by dashing for the door when he looks away. There's a pro and a con to our third approach. Pro, it involves fewer guard encounters. Con, it takes the longest to complete. Instead of approaching any of the guards in this first area, make for this crawl space and head east. For orientation and reference, that building to the north of Snake's entrance is where he undergoes torture later in the game. The first guard we'll encounter patrols just north of Snake's entrance. He'll start with his back to Snake. He shows Snake his back long enough to allow you time for either a CQC takedown, not pictured here, or a run of the perimeter of this level through the opening gap in his patrol. This forces us to deal with the second guard who patrols the alley just east of the torture room. He not only starts with his back to Snake, he's actually patrolling away from Snake's starting direction. There's a cardboard box item in this alley, but do not grab it. Pretend you're in a museum. Look, but don't touch. If box lust overwhelms your better judgment, hop inside the one you already own and consider that amassing corrugated wealth does not lead to a happy life. This is such an easy mistake to make that I want to make a moral comparison. Leaving this box alone, here and now, is more important than the hopes, dreams, and delicate emotional surges of the human life in front of you. We're going for a Foxhound Rank walkthrough, so don't do this. But, if you need to make this choice in real life, whether to take this box or to take this life, pretend he hates Dr. Zhivago and put him down. Then learn to live with yourself, you monster. Fortunately, this has all been just a thought experiment. A necessary nightmare to open the right path before us. Sidle along the wall to move around the box. CQC this art-hating bastard. And head to the drainage channel. Crawling through this channel is the biggest time sink in this strategy, so we're going to fast forward through with a little drainage channel crawling music. Alright, that's enough of that. Snake emerges near Groznyj Grad's food shed. Take out the guard patrolling nearby with CQC. A second guard patrols out of Snake's view just to the south of the food shed. If you hop onto these crates, you'll catch his attention and he'll come to investigate. As we see through the binoculars, he walks with his flank towards Snake. We're staying put for illustration purposes, but this is the best time to hide in order to catch him by surprise. So, starting from Snake's emergence from the drainage channel, we press against the wall to make sure this guard is looking away. Then we hit him with CQC. Next, we hop onto these crates in order to draw the southern guard over. Once he arrives and sees his knocked out comrade, we can use the box tactics from Method 2 to catch him by surprise. We've entered this area from the east this time, so our destination lies to Snake's west. Remember to keep the cardboard box equipped for the searchlights. In each of our prior strategies, we've waited for the fifth guard to look away from this building's entrance in order to complete Snake's infiltration. This time, when the guard looks away from the door, he's also looking in our direction. As he scans left and right, take advantage of his blind spot and move forward. If you've timed everything well, you should only need to nudge out from behind this armored vehicle while wearing the box before unequipping it and hitting him with CQC. As noted before, we interact with a minimum number of guards during this approach. The final guard is one whom we've knocked out in other strategies. This time he's the only one nearby, so wait until he's looking away and complete Snake's infiltration. Keep the box equipped as extra insurance in the unlikely event that he sees you. Now, as before, let's put all this together into a single uninterrupted strategy. First, head for this crawl space to enter the eastern area containing Volgin's torture facility. Then head for this area's east alley. Then sidle along this wall to avoid picking up this box. You'll need it later. Knock out the art hater. Then enter the drainage channel and begin your long crawl north. Upon emerging, press against the food shed to watch for when this guard looks away, then hit him with CQC. Hop onto these crates to catch the attention of the southern guard. You have time to drag this guard into a more open area if you're uncomfortable with how close the southern guard walked past your box when we reviewed this earlier. Then catch him with CQC. Keep your cardboard box equipped for the searchlights as you head south, then east. Head for the rear of this armored car, but stop when this guard catches sight of your box in motion.
What's this box doing?
When he's close, unequip the box and hit him with CQC as well. Finally, run to the grill of this armored vehicle and wait for the last guard to look away from the building in order to complete Snake's infiltration of Groznyj Grad's admin and research facility. Our fourth and final approach branches off the second. Instead of running through the nearby door after Snake enters the western area of Groznyj Grad, knock out the guard and head to the parallel rows of tanks. As we see through the binoculars, a second guard patrols this corridor. The Tiger Stripe Camo's camo index is low enough to attract the guard away from his post. After you've handled the first guard, dip into the tank corridor to draw the second guard out. The final guard worth mentioning patrols between the tanks and the area's outside wall. We're going to break sequence here to illustrate a point about how dogs work in MGS3 that we covered in a previous video. Our destination is the open back of a supply truck, which we'll illustrate in a moment. Don't worry if you need to run nearby a sleeping dog. Just make sure you don't bump or kick one, otherwise you'll trigger an alert. While the video assembles these steps into a seamless strategy using tricks that we're well versed in by now, I'd like to talk about the legacy of the cardboard box and truck trick. Solid Snake stowed away in enemy trucks all the way back in the original Metal Gear on MSX and even in its port to the NES. However, in each of these games, simply hopping into the back of a specific truck was enough to trigger transportation. They functioned more as warp points needed to progress through outer heaven rather than optional routes for making progress or backtracking. In Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, the series began to use the cardboard box as not only static camouflage, but also as a disguise to access the enemy's supply infrastructure. This was useful both to access new areas and to save time backtracking, a core element of the early game's designs. At this point, Solid Snake still only needed one box that worked universally in all situations. His movement was determined by the fixed destination of any given conveyor belt or truck rather than the box. Metal Gear Solid 1 was the first game to emphasize box type as the key transportation element. The box strategy works similarly in MGS3, the main difference being that MGS1's box trick helped the player move more quickly through the Shadow Moses facility when backtracking. MGS3's design drops backtracking in favor of a constant push forward. Trucks will only move Snake ahead, and not to a previous area. We'll close by looking at MGS2. Raiden can travel using the conveyor belt as long as he wears the right box. This fits with the game's thematic exaggeration of MGS1. The game combines backtracking and moving forward into the same motion with the Big Shell's loop design. Rather than moving forward or back with the box trick, the player travels through Big Shell horizontally, with a grand total of 5 cardboard boxes. Decadent. As we just saw, the approach to Groznyj Grad's science lab is fairly open-ended. Kidnapping Raikov is more streamlined, so let's look at the patrol routes we'll be dealing with. First, an officer patrols the catwalk to Snake's left. At the outset, he's walking toward the building's second-floor research lab. Notice that the lab doors open as he walks past. His and Raikov's uniforms function the same as the pan cards used by Solid Snake to access doors in Metal Gear Solid 1. When this officer reaches the railing near the stairs, a second officer appears patrolling the ground floor. Notice that he walked into one of the supply rooms as part of his inspection route. Once he enters this room, he will stay there for several seconds. At that point, a third guard also patrolling the ground floor will come around the base of the stairs. He'll see Snake here, but that doesn't really matter. We're just here for illustration purposes. What's important is the timing of Raikov's patrol route. Notice that when the third guard appears, Raikov's patrol leads him along the balcony where we last saw the first guard. After this, he turns away from Snake's position at the entrance and heads toward the stairs. Our plan of attack here is fairly simple. First, run around the base of the stairs to grab the third guard from behind. We don't need to store the body to hide it from the other guards because they'll be subdued soon enough. However, the time it takes to pick up the body, drag it inside, and let it go helps make sure that you don't run to your second target too quickly. Run back around the base of the stairs to the supply room that we saw the second officer enter on his patrol. He'll be facing away from the door inside, giving you a great opportunity to take him down. Again, it can be useful to hide the body for timing. Run up the stairs straight away to reach the top at the same time as Raikov. I've hit him here with CQC just after rounding the corner, but it's safer to distract him by throwing an empty magazine first. Now we just need to deal with the officer who patrols the balcony and catwalk. Throw an empty magazine at the door at the end of the catwalk. Take him out, and you've cleared your path of obstacles. Now head back to Raikov. The quickest path to the locker room takes you past the second floor science lab. If Raikov's body crosses the rectangle on the floor in front of the lab door, the door will open, exposing Snake. In this instance, the scientists were far enough away that they did not go into an alert, but merely entered caution mode. This is risky, so drag Raikov down along the first floor as a safer alternative. Now we'll develop a strategy for snatching Raikov if you chose to infiltrate using the box and truck trick. First, press along the wall to the left of the door and knock repeatedly.
What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound?
Once you hear 3 verbal confirmations, hide inside your box near where you started off. This calls the first officer from his patrol on the catwalk down to the ground floor. The second officer will enter the room as part of his patrol just moments before the first officer arrives. Once the first officer has rushed inside to check out the corner, emerge from the box and take out the officer nearby. And then take out the one you called to the ground floor. Let's recap that for situational awareness. The officer we knocked out first was the ground floor patrol whose path takes him into this room automatically. The officer that we knocked out second, the one without a hat, was the catwalk officer that we handled last by throwing magazines at the catwalk door in the previous method. Exit right away and you'll find the last patrol officer walking past the base of the stairs. Run straight up to him and choke him out. Raikov will be coming through here shortly, so stash the body under the stairs. Even though Raikov will not see Snake over the stair banister, he will hear Snake's footsteps. When moving parallel with him as he descends, be sure to stalk using the D-pad. Catch Raikov as he rounds the corner at the bottom of the stairs and the level is all clear. This time we'll take the long way around the ground floor. It takes a little while longer, but there's less risk of getting caught, and unless you're really concerned about your time for your Foxhound rank, there's no huge benefit to dragging him one way over the other. Now Snake earns the unofficial rank of the first analog snatcher. Change into Raikov's officer uniform and be sure to put on the mask, and your disguise is complete. Now it's time to take advantage of all the benefits that dating Volgin brings. Granted, Snake probably smells like he's been in the jungle for a week, but fear of Volgin's discipline, I'm sure, overrides the urge to criticize Raikov's BO. Our first task is to stock up on weapons and ammunition courtesy of Groznyj Grad. In case you missed the knockout handkerchief earlier, you can find it underneath this table just north of where you stashed Raikov. Head down to the ground floor and enter this storage room near the back. Grab the Scorpion submachine gun. In this room you can also grab another magazine of Mark 22 rounds as well as a Mark 22 suppressor. The Scorpion is the only weapon in the game with a laser sight. Obviously you won't need this for taking care of human enemies in a Foxhound rank playthrough. However, it can be useful for players less certain of their first-person aiming skills during the Shagahad portion of the runway escape sequence when Volgin fires rockets at Eva's motorcycle. I'm taking Snake outside rather than directly to Sokolov in order to lay the groundwork for one of the toughest parts of MGS3's European extreme difficulty, Snake's naked escape from Groznyj Grad's torture chamber. We've seen previously how blowing up food sheds both decreases guards' stamina, enabling Snake to take them out simply by rolling into them, and makes them hungry enough that they will eat incapacitatingly rotten food. You can set an easier future path for yourself by establishing those conditions now while you have full run of the facility. Snake can't equip TNT while wearing Raikov's officer uniform, so you'll need to change into some other camo in order to equip and set the charge. Make sure that the door is fully shut when you do to prevent anyone accidentally seeing you out of costume. And of course, clear out all guards nearby to make sure no one gets caught in the explosion. In this instance, I think it's actually safer to knock this guard out and drag him away because his patrol route takes him closer to the shed than I'm comfortable with. It's not worth screwing up your kill count now, so better safe than sorry. Just as Snake could not set the charge while wearing Raikov's uniform, he cannot detonate it in costume either. You want to find a location close enough to the shed so that you can visually confirm no kills, but far enough away so that you can discreetly drop costume long enough to press the detonator without getting seen or getting caught in the explosion yourself. This is pretty easy to handle while sabotaging the food shed since this area is not heavily patrolled, but it can be more difficult with the ammo shed where you have dogs to deal with. I consider the ammo shed more optional since I don't have clear confirmation that the gains are actual rather than merely perceived. Typically, when you blow up the ammo shed, enemies will fire at Snake less often in order to conserve their rounds. That benefit, of course, implies that you can get caught and be aggressively pursued in alert mode, a luxury that European Extreme does not afford. Heads up, if you're interested in my method for building a knowledge base about MGS3, you might find the next couple of minutes interesting. If you just want the practical advice, you can skip ahead a bit until I'm done explaining. So my thinking runs like this. Blowing up the food shed establishes conditions beneficial to Snake later while he's moving through these same areas during his escape. After the fight against Volgin, when Eva is driving her motorcycle to escape the Shagohod, Snake will need to tranquilize or stun a lot of guards while minimizing the damage taken. If the relationship between blowing up the ammo shed and the frequency of enemy attacks is at all similar to the relationship between blowing up the food shed and the guard's lowered stamina later, then destroying the ammo shed should give you some advantage when Snake is a wide-open target during the bike chase sequence. The most reliable way to test this would be to play the bike escape sequence several times under different conditions, record those playthroughs, and then watch those videos simultaneously to check and see if the enemies are any less aggressive in the videos where the ammo shed was destroyed. Setting aside the idea of a test, a mark against this logic is the fact that, both before and after the torture sequence, Groznyj Grad's playable areas are loaded the same way, as discrete units. During the bike chase, Groznyj Grad's exterior is loaded as an entire area, making it visually similar to, but not identical with, these areas whose variables were changing by detonating both the ammo and food sheds. Oh yeah, to interrupt myself, guards won't figure out that you're not Raikov, but the dogs will smell the week of jungle on you. The explosion will call them over to your location. They will actually cause an alert, so stay clear. So, picking back up with the explanation. A consequence of this is that the shed destructions might have no relation whatsoever to the levels you go through during the bike chase sequence. Another way to test this would be to see if the guards have less stamina during the bike chase as a result of blowing up the food shed. I've never heard them voice their usual complaints about being hungry during the bike chase. So, again, it seems the most reliable test would be a side-by-side comparison of different playthroughs under different conditions. So, this is what applied curiosity looks like. These are the kinds of tests that I use to build and modify my knowledge of the game. The difference being that I have foregone the actual testing in this instance. The takeaway is, blow up the ammo shed and knock on wood that it matters. It's sufficiently ambiguous whether or not its effect will be significant, so you can skip it if you want to conserve your playtime. And now I'm apparently just screwing around. Another important part of applied curiosity, to be sure, but not a part worth that much camera time. At this point, there's nothing more practical to be done in Raikov's uniform, so we can move things toward their conclusion. In full costume, run through the door in the southwest corner of the room where you stashed Raikov. You'll run around the hangar where they're assembling the Shagohod, and you can take out these guys like so many bowling pins on your way through. Head north and exit through the only door at the end of the hallway. You can pass through the pair of officers guarding Sokolov's room in caution mode, so don't worry about the havoc you've caused. You can't get through here in alert mode, but since you can't play during alert mode on European Extreme, this is simply trivia for other difficulties. We're skipping a bunch of cutscenes and the game will give you a chance to save midway through. Don't save here. If you do save here, then you've used one of your FOXHOUND Rank saves, and you'll have to sit through the torture sequence every time you load up. Keep the L2 button held down during the torture sequence. This brings up Snake's item menu. Your weapons are all taken away, but you still have the fake death traversal pill embedded in Snake's tooth to populate the list. The black screen torture sequence is broken into several different loadable segments, starting with Sokolov's beating, then going on to Volgin's appraisal of how scarred Snake's body has become as a result of the player's choices and playstyle, and then going into Volgin's actual beating on Snake. You'll know when you get to the end of a loadable sequence when you're holding L2 because everyone will fall silent and nothing will happen. When this occurs, quickly release and then immediately hold down the L2 button again to initiate the next dramatic segment.
Guess he's dead. Now then, I hope you'll prove more entertaining than he was. But first, let's take a look at your body, shall we? What a beautiful body you have, like a newborn baby.
If you do not hold down L2 during the final segment, Snake's health will decrease each time he's hit by Volgin. This actually counts against the overall amount of health that you can lose and also earn a Foxhound rank. There's no point in squandering that health on dramatic flourishes such as this sequence, so keep L2 held down.
Legacy. Answer me. Who is helping you? Who let you in here? You're a tough one, but even you must have your limits. And I am a patient man.
We regain control of Snake in the torture building's holding cell. First things first, grab the fork item on the floor to Snake's left. Then go into the survival viewer to remove both the transmitter that Ocelot jammed into one of Snake's open wounds after Volgin's torture session, as well as the fake death pill that the boss shot into Snake's thigh. Never, ever, ever use the fork as a weapon. If you stab this rat with a fork, for instance, Snake will eat it instantly, thereby ruining the no meals requirement for the Foxhound rank. Escaping Groznyj Grad is one of the tougher challenges on European Extreme, so we'll explore several different options to get Snake out of here and underground. One of the greatest limitations placed upon the player is that for some reason during this sequence, Snake can no longer perform a CQC slam knockout. Each strategy is basically an attempt to work around that new limitation. First, we'll use the knockout cigarettes to mimic the close-range efficiency of CQC. In order to access those cigarettes here, you'll first need to have acquired them previously in Granin's lab. Then you need to make friends with the Patriarch Johnny, forebearer of the jail guard on Shadow Moses Island as well as Meryl's future husband. To do this, select each food item you receive and throw it back outside your cell. This takes time since Johnny has to patrol the whole area before he throws you your next meal. Killing the rat serves as an extra meal so it speeds up the process. You'll need to feed him 3 times before he warms up to you.
Chow time! Huh? Well, it's your loss. Johnny.
Johnny, nice ring to it.
While he and Snake are chatting, Johnny will show a family photo with the radio frequency to open the door on the back side. You can view it by going into first-person view during the cutscene.
My dad's a Johnny, and my son's son will probably be a Johnny too.
Then he'll give Snake the knockout cigarettes.
Here. I filched them from your equipment when the Colonel wasn't looking. It's the least I can do.
Note that the cigarettes work the same way as the sidearms. You can ready your weapon without firing it by holding down the weapon button, and you'll discharge the knockout gas when you quickly let go. Letting go of the button gently will simply disarm the cigarette without attacking. After Johnny throws Snake a meal, he'll patrol to the end of the corridor with his back to Snake. This is your best opportunity to open the door using the radio frequency and then knock him out. You could simply escape behind his back, but you'll want the items that you can shake off his body. Once you get his smoke grenades and ramen noodles, run into the administrative room before exiting the building. You'll find a camera in this room with a zoom function on its viewfinder that will work for recon purposes in place of Snake's binoculars, which are currently in Volgin's possession. And now you're ready to tackle Groznyj Grad's great outdoors. First, let's get some situational awareness. There are a lot of guards to the northwest of the torture building's exit. Going through them would be a bad idea. Lucky for us, at their starting positions the guards are looking away from the entrance. Your best move forward is the path of least resistance. That means moving through the southern alley where there's only one guard. If you've blown up the food shed, you can knock out a single guard simply by rolling into him. Be mindful, though, that he will not stay out long, as the single revolving star indicates. Using the cigarettes leaves a trail of knockout gas that you'll want to deploy as you run directly at your target. This should knock him out silently, without causing him to make noise when you bump into him, and it leaves him out of action for a longer time than a forward roll will. Now that we've got situational awareness under our belts, let's look at a practical strategy for this area. We don't need to be in this area for long, so rolling into this guard should give you plenty of time to run to the back alley and grab that cardboard box that I specified should be saved for later. Now is later. We'll elaborate on how to use the box to full effect soon. For now, after you've grabbed the box, head for the crawl space behind the armored car to proceed to the next area. This puts us back in the very first area where we entered Groznyj Grad. The first guards we encounter are the same from before, and they have the same patrol routes as we see peeking from behind this corner. This area can be extremely straightforward. Sidle up to this square supply container, and then peek out from the corner. You'll have time for both the near and the far guards to see Snake, after which they'll come to investigate. Once you've grabbed both guards' attention, run down this alley parallel to their movement. When you reach the end, press up against this wall so that your footsteps don't call the attention of the guard in the nearby alley. Once the guard is looking away, either roll into him or use your cigarettes to take him down, and exit through the door to the north. We encounter the same enemies here that we encountered in our first infiltration method, the differences being that Snake's camo index is way lower and there's no CQC. As well, there's a new second guard who starts out facing Snake's direction before patrolling east. I've indicated these guards for situational awareness. This is the easiest area to move through. Simply hug the area's southern wall and run west. The guards will see Snake, but they will only come to investigate without entering alert mode. This gives Snake plenty of time to make his exit. The final area requires the most observation of enemy locations in order to build a viable strategy. One guard patrols between two tanks, and you can interrupt his patrol by throwing a piece of food behind him. Additionally, a guard starts out patrolling in Snake's direction from the other end of the corridor. Remember that Snake's camo index is much lower, which is a strength and a weakness. It enables you to draw guards from their patrols from a greater distance, yet it also risks an easier alert mode for that very reason. Now, once the first guard whom we fed has eaten, we want to take both him and his nearby comrade out. A rolling knockout is still an option, though it creates noise which will attract the attention of guards nearby. Not the stealthiest approach. Throwing food to break the first guard's routine is a good idea if you want to play this section conservatively and handle each guard separately. If you're up for more of a risk, you can leave the first guard's patrol uninterrupted and simply run in circles until you catch the second guard's eye. As before, run around the tanks. This should create the right timing so that both guards are shoulder to shoulder when Snake is nearby. Roll into both at once for a double KO. It's a short-lived KO since they only have one star over their heads, but it will take them out without creating an alert in the event that you did not get the knockout gas cigarettes from Johnny. If you have the knockout gas cigarettes, and if you want to handle each guard separately, throw the food to distract the first guard as before. Then draw the second guard out. When you arrive after running around the tanks, the guards should be too far apart to handle at once. Use this opportunity to gas the first guard, making sure to release the attack button before you touch him. Then hit the second guard the same way. Our next bit of recon features the return of the dogs. We'll use the camera to zoom in on this dog in the corner, and this should give us a sense of how long the dog will remain asleep after we've taken care of those two guards. Roughly speaking, the dog wakes up just in time for Snake to have arrived at the end of the tank corridor, making a straight dash forward after taking out these guards a big mistake. Here we can also see that the dog will notice Snake over a distance as well. In addition... what the... Dumb dog. Well, that's a fluke, but the point stands. Whereas a human will see Snake at a distance and slowly investigate, the dogs will sprint to Snake's location once they detect his presence. We need to deal with them in a special way, this time without a silenced weapon. Our best assets here are the ramen noodles that we shook off Johnny, or any other unspoiled food. Dogs will not eat rotten food, and the food that Johnny tosses Snake risks going bad. Ramen won't rot, so even though the bat works here, save the ramen for just this scenario in case your other food has gone south. Throw it at the dog when it wakes up. The dog takes its time eating, and we're fast-forwarding through that, but once the dog is finished, it will look around and then fall back asleep. This is Snake's window to move onward. You don't want to be around the dog when it looks around after eating, but before falling asleep. However, if you position Snake so that the dog's line of sight is broken by obstacles, you can go ahead and move forward while the dog's eating. We've illustrated the point before that dogs don't pay attention to Snake while they're eating, but it's more crucial information now in order to time Snake's movement through the other guards in this area. Now let's scout out the final enemies to handle before Snake makes it to the sewers. First, another dog lies sleeping right in front of the entrance to the chain-link fence surrounding the sewer entrance. The second sleeps much, much longer than the first dog. If you're quick, you can run right past him before he wakes up. Finally, we have two more Groznyj soldiers to sneak through. The first patrols towards Snake's direction from under the walkway Snake used in disguise as Raikov. The second patrols along a staircase leading into the Shagohod chamber. He starts with his back to Snake as he walks toward the dog and the chain-link entrance. These two are easily handled using the techniques covered thus far. So, let's put everything together. First, I choose to forego distracting the first guard with food. Next, I run in place to draw the second guard away from his patrol. I circle around both guards and take them out at the same time with a single discharge from the gas cigarettes. Next, I throw a piece of fresh food at the sleeping dog so that he'll be distracted by his meal as soon as he wakes up. Pressing against this tank for cover, I wait until the guard who patrols from under the walkway to look away from Snake's direction. I take out the final guard with a gas cigarette. And, as noted before, I run straight past the second dog before he wakes up, completing this strategy for Snake's escape from Groznyj Grad's torture chambers. Now let's develop a strategy for escaping Groznyj Grad in the event that you did not get the knockout gas cigarettes before. Having extra food on hand is always good in case we need to improvise a distraction. So go ahead and get this rat. This way you can get out of here quickly with 3 food items in your inventory. First, whatever Johnny throws Snake. Second, this rat. And third, the ramen noodles that Snake shakes off Johnny's body. This is quicker than the earlier method because we don't need to wait for Johnny to make a full sweep of the building before throwing Snake the second food item. As soon as you get the rat, and as soon as Johnny moves past your cell, use the radio frequency to open the door. Even though in this run we've blown up the food shed, Johnny has by default more stamina than regular guards. You're going to need to hit him twice with Snake's punch-punch-kick combo in order to knock him out. From here forward, much of this strategy resembles the strategy with the gas cigarettes. Shake down Johnny for his ramen noodles and smoke grenades, grab the camera from the administrative room for recon purposes, and then head outside. We're working off a save where Snake blew up the food shed, so rolling into guards remains our quickest means of knocking them out. Now head to the alley to grab the cardboard box. As a side note, there's a nuance in the box's item description that tells you how this box cannot be used. Boxes used as camouflage to infiltrate Groznyj Grad have specific locations stamped on the sides. Cardboard box B is described as having illegible lettering, meaning that it cannot be used in the truck to access any particular location. Now, as before, move to the crawl space to enter the next area. We're going to use a quicker way around these guards than before. I offered the first tactic of peeking around the corner to draw the guards away from their post as a conservative move, in the event that you'd like to control where the guards go. However, if you're fast, you can simply run around them. Their patrols will naturally lead them away, and they will not look in your direction. If you want to be a little more obnoxious about this approach, you can actually KO the second guard while he's looking away. Here we can expand our knowledge base of the order of exclamation points that occur while wearing the cardboard box, under the condition that Snake is on the move. The guard will first offer a white exclamation point. After enough suspicion, he'll throw out a second white exclamation point, immediately before going into alert. Let's take another look at that process. If Snake can get behind cover before the guard throws up that second exclamation point, you can actually keep going as long as you put a second obstacle between the box and that guard's line of sight when he comes to investigate your location. If I move diagonally, I can get Snake behind cover and break the guard's line of sight. The guard is still in first white exclamation point mode, however, and he will go into alert if he sees the box make any additional moves, as we see here. In this particular scenario, the goal is to run straight across the guard's patrol, break line of sight, and then take cover before the guard can see the box a second time. Here's an example of getting the first two elements right, but not the third. Be wary of using the box to move through a tight space such as between the wall and the guardrails. You can get stuck, which compromises the whole endeavor. Now let's look at one successful run of this area. We run past the first guard, roll into the second, and run across the third guard's line of sight, making it to cover before he rounds that corner. Then we proceed safely to the door. Here again is what a successful execution of this strategy looks like if you're actually using this as part of your FOXHOUND Rank run. I caution you though, it's risky, and I mainly present it here as a fun way to use the mechanics of MGS3 while also aiding Snake's escape from Groznyj Grad.
What's this box doing?
What follows is the safest and sanest way through. Press against the wall, wait for the guard to approach, charge at him with the box, then unequip the box before rolling into him for a clean KO. I can't begin to imagine how he's going to explain this to his superiors. No, seriously, it was a cardboard box! Here's another neat property of the cardboard box. The box appears to be part poltergeist, capable of low-level concussive force. Even if you're standing a good few yards away from a door, the door will simply open by equipping the box. Forget the sorrow, I'm terrified of a boss fight against a box. Well, that's enough messing with the mechanics for now. Let's move onward. Again, I recommend the conservative method of waiting for the alley guard to come near and then knocking him out with a roll. Okay, I lied. We'll look at the mechanics one more time. Wearing the box gives you the same -20 camo index while running. However, there are different AI rules in effect when Snake is running with and without the box. If the enemy sees Snake running without the box, they'll come to investigate this spot with suspicion. However, if they see Snake running with the box, the same 2 white exclamation points then alert process remains in effect. This is interesting on a mechanical level because it's actually an instance where exposing Snake's physical presence is stealthier than hiding inside the cardboard box. Now for the final area. We can actually take advantage of the open area scanned by the searchlight. If you run straight north toward the searchlight's area, and if you stop right before the searchlight covers Snake, you should grab the attention of the guard that we distracted with food in a variation of our prior strategy. He will come to investigate. Remember, guards take a good long time before they pull the box off Snake. Wait until the searchlight is away from the guard and the box, unequip, and then knock him out with a roll. Then get back inside fast. The guard patrolling from beneath the suspended hallway will notice his fallen comrade and come to investigate. You can use the same trick to catch this guard by surprise. Just be sure that the guard is close enough to roll into easily, and be sure that you're not rolling into the spotlight. And of course, be sure that they're close enough together to take out in one roll if you choose to take them out after the second wakes up the first. It's hard to anticipate exactly where the first guard will fly after you roll into him. This is where our knowledge of guard priorities comes into play. If you can grab the second guard's attention so that he comes to investigate the box,
What's wrong? The box. Here.
he will actually bypass his comrade out cold on the ground. This gives you ample opportunity to unequip the box and roll into the second guard when he's standing nearby. Then unequip the box and run around the searchlight's perimeter. You'll head for the side of the staircase, crouch, then throw a smoke grenade so it covers the sight of both the guard and the dog. It's important that you crouch because your camo index actually dips briefly when you throw any item other than an empty magazine. If you throw the grenade while standing up, you risk dropping your camo index so low that you're visible to one of the other guards that you've worked around, triggering an alert. Once the smoke grenade explodes, you can weave right through both the guard and the dog. The dog won't be able to detect Snake by smell, and the guard can't see anything. Don't bump into them, but make it through so that you can crawl beneath the pipes to the exit. I recommend remaining prone since you've just sent everyone into caution, which means you've forfeited the grace period of a white exclamation point. So keep a low profile and you'll be just fine. Next, let's look at a strategy that takes advantage of our prep work of blowing up the food shed while disguised as Raikov. We want several rotting food items in our inventory, so, as before, kill this rat with Snake's punch-punch-kick combo. Wait in the cell for Johnny to throw 2 more food items to Snake. This time, keep them in your inventory rather than throwing them back outside the cell. I'm fast-forwarding because this can be quite a wait since Johnny is cursed with his token IBS, and he must attend to his god. Dial out to unlock the door. And head for the door only once Johnny has passed out of sight to the left. Knock him out. Steal his ramen and smoke grenades. And grab the camera for recon. If you're going the rotten food route, save your game immediately after exiting the building. Once you've saved your game, you're going to use the same trick as you might have used against the end for a quick, non-lethal victory. Go to your system's internal clock and set the clock forward 1 year. Then reload the game. When you resume playing outside the torture building, you'll find that each food item except for the ramen has spoiled. You'll encounter more guards than you have food items, so if you can take out a guard with a rolling knockout, use that so you don't waste food for later encounters. And of course, never leave your torture cell without a box. By its placement in the alley outside the room, one can only conclude that it is engaged in civil disobedience as an advocate of peace. And next, head through the crawl space. And use whatever combination of strategies you prefer to get through this area. The final area of Snake's escape is the most complex, so we want to save all food items for then.
What's this box doing here?
As well, run through this area like usual. Now we're ready to get creative. Ready a rotten food item, and throw it into the corridor between the rows of tanks. The nearest guard will hear the sound of the food item landing, and he will consume with only a second thought that this might not be the best idea. Crouch to maintain your camo index while throwing, and then toss your second rotten food item at the guard on the corridor's opposite end. The camera can be useful here for confirmation that the guard has begun cramping, though we're on the move as soon as he eats his hell meal. We've saved the ramen noodles for the first dog. While the soldiers to Snake's right reap the rewards of desperation, throw the good food at the dog to keep him occupied when he wakes up. Throw the next food item over this tank to detain the spotlight guard, Now, from this distance, throw your final rotten food item at the guard who patrols the entrance to Snake's escape tunnel. His first cramp should awaken the dog, who will investigate the sound. Wait until the dog is standing right beside the soldier. Then throw your smoke grenade. Since they're both caught in the smoke cloud, head straight for the exit. Remain prone because there is an extra guard who can see Snake if you stand up between the pipes. Finally, let's assume that you took the quicker route and did not destroy the food shed while disguised as Raikov. You can kill the rat idly, it doesn't matter this time around. Once Johnny has walked past Snake's cell, call out and unlock the door. The SAA is invaluable here. Snake has a 3-hit combo with the SAA much as he does while he's unarmed. However, the first 2 hits have a much shorter range. You want to take advantage of the time delay of Johnny's first white exclamation point to get in closer than usual before you start your combo. The ragdoll effect on enemies with the SAA is absolutely ridiculous. It is possibly a high-frequency revolver using prototype technology that would eventually reappear in the swords wielded by Gray Fox and Raiden. The speculation is most assuredly canon. Anyway, you get the 2 grenades, and the ramen, and the camera. Also, don't forget to remove the transmitter and the fake death pill. Once you're outside, run straight for the guard in the alley. Send him flying with the SAA,
Freeze.
Then run to where he lands and hold him up while he's on the ground. You can't run while you have the revolver equipped, so be sure to unequip the weapon before moving away. Do not dry fire the gun. If you do, the enemy will hear the hammer click and enter alert mode. I prefer hitting them with the SAA rather than rolling for a couple of reasons. First, you have greater control over where the enemies fly, unlike the more random directions of the forward roll. Second, you have a slight cooldown period before you can move again after a roll, whereas you can start moving immediately toward the guard's landing spot simply by unequipping the revolver. Once in the second area, run behind the first guard with his back turned, and hold up the second. Do the same to the third guard when he gets close.
Freeze.
And head north. Run through this area as we have covered. And this time through the final area we need a bit more information on the patrol patterns of the guards here. So let's use the camera for recon. Fast forwarding, we see that after they're satisfied with their stations, the guards patrol with their backs to Snake's location. We still want to draw the far end guard to Snake's starting position. When Snake hits a guard with the SAA, the guard's resulting cry of pain will call attention to the guards nearby. So we want to pull the far end guard away from his post just as the guard in the middle begins his patrol north. This will put a safe distance between the guards so that one does not hear the other getting mugged. Throw the ramen noodles to the dog, and handle each guard in turn.
Freeze. Freeze.
Hold up the guard near the searchlight.
Freeze.
Then throw your smoke grenade when the entrance guard is near the dog so that Snake can gain access to the sewers. Those should be enough strategies to get you started on your own escape from Groznyj Grad. Now let's make our way through the sewers. To start off, I prefer the hanging drop catch for speed. Don't do this if you're not confident that you'll time the catch correctly. In terms of player experience, the sewer area serves as a calming, balancing reprieve to the tension of moving through patrol guards during Snake's escape from Groznyj Grad. In general, this segment is fairly unremarkable. There are many items stashed in niche locations underwater, but we don't need them, so just follow the route shown here to get through the sewers as quickly as possible. Most of the dead ends look the same here, so I recommend using the traditional camera while Snake is running. Conversely, gauging exactly where the crawl spaces are can be occasionally troublesome because, if you happen to misjudge the distance and crawl at the wall next to the hole, Snake will crouch and you'll be stationary while reorienting his position. More dogs flood the sewers as Snake progresses, so getting caught stationary can open you up to getting attacked. Therefore, I recommend using the movable shoulder camera to orient Snake best when you need to enter crawl spaces. After a cutscene, Snake finds himself wading through the Sorrow's River of the Dead. If you have done everything right, this area should be populated only by the Sorrow and the Cobra unit bosses you've defeated. When you see the Cobra unit, don't worry. They appear in the River of the Dead regardless of how you defeated them. Since this is a dream sequence, Snake has access to his full inventory. I recommend pulling out the M63 machine gun for this. Touching any of the apparitions will drain Snake's health, and the Foxhound rank criteria puts us on a leash regarding how much health Snake can lose. Shooting the Cobra unit bosses will briefly disperse their ghosts. When their ghosts are dispersed, touching them will not hurt Snake. The M63 is great here because it keeps a steady stream of bullets running through the ghost in case the ghost re-solidifies into the form that can drain life right before Snake brushes past. The Sorrow will occasionally throw Psychic Blasts at Snake. I've found that moving from one side of the river to the other will move Snake out of the way of this projectile attack. So stick to the sides of the area at all times to give yourself enough room to evade. We also want to make it to the end of the river for a couple of reasons. First, we want to make sure that we haven't accidentally killed any enemies because, if we have, then they'll show up here. If you see a regular enemy in the water, you accidentally killed someone, and your Foxhound rank is currently forfeit. If you see someone, I recommend paying attention to the enemy's uniform and thinking back to where in the game you saw enemies with that uniform type. This can give you some idea which save file to load so that you can progress forward for a no-kill run without having to start the game over from scratch. Once you reach the end of the river, you'll encounter the Sorrow's body as it appears at the base of the bridge off which Snake was thrown by the boss at the end of Virtuous Mission. Walk into the body and Snake will die. Once the time paradox text begins to appear, use the fake death pill revival pill implanted in Snake's tooth to break free of the Sorrow's hold. Since Snake made it all the way to the Sorrow's body, the spirit camo pattern will automatically appear among his uniforms when he reaches Eva behind the waterfall. This is our second reason for making it all the way to the end of the river. We are now at the end of this segment of the Foxhound Rank video walkthrough, so behind the waterfall can be a great place to save if you wish. And congratulations! You've just made it through one of the toughest, if not the toughest, part of the Foxhound Rank playthrough. For now, enjoy our parting stroll through the game's loveliest landscape. Thank you for watching.